Want to know why? Ask how. Howard the Humongous.
Howard the Humongous. Now for the first of our little elusive buttons. There we go. Donald Trump is single-handedly creating a national emergency with his shutdown of the government. Trump's shutdown cheats close to 1 million government workers, 800,000 to be more precise. It forces them to work without pay, or it sends them home and expects them to remain faithful and true to their jobs without a paycheck. The issue over which our orange-haired national emergency is screwing 800,000 Americans is a border wall with Mexico, a $25 billion project. Just for comparison, for the price of Trump's $25 billion border wall, you could buy 1,329 F-16 jet fighters, 31 big teaching hospitals, or 943 middle schools. Yes, for the price of Donald Trump's wall with Mexico, you could buy an entire Air Force. In the midst of the Great Wall debate, Donald Trump has threatened to shut down the border with Mexico completely. To show just how thoroughly wrong-headed Trump's wall obsession is, and how even more wrong-headed it would be to close off our border with Mexico, allow me to do something that I've never done before. There's a book you should read. It's by Andrew Seeley, president of the Migration Policy Institute and the former executive vice president of the Woodrow Wilson Center, where he set up the Woodrow Wilson Center's Mexico Institute. So he knows Mexico. The title is Vanishing Frontiers. And Vanishing Frontiers reveals crucial aspects of our relationship with Mexico, aspects that came as a total surprise to me and that I suspect would come as a surprise to you. So I'm going to read you some key highlights from the book. Direct quotes from Andrew Seeley's Vanishing Frontier. Now here we go. Brace yourself. American producers export more to Mexico than to China, Japan, and South Korea combined. And American producers send more exports to Mexico than to the United Kingdom, Germany, France, the Netherlands, and Belgium, America's principal European markets. All of them put together. In fact, over a third of all American exports go to our NAFTA partners. Canada and Mexico, 18.5% to Canada and 15.8% to Mexico in 2017, making Canada and Mexico by far the two largest buyers of American-made products in the world. For American agriculture, Mexico has become a vital export market, the top destination for corn, dry beans, dairy, and chicken, and the second market for wheat, soybeans, pork, beef, and many other products. In a decade, from 2005 to 2015, Mexico doubled its imports of American farm products. Mexico is the fourth largest source of crude oil for the United States, but it also buys more than half of America's exports of natural gas. Increasingly, we build products together to sell to the rest of the world. Shared manufacturing across the three countries helped many U.S. industries compete in the global economy in ways they otherwise couldn't have. In the 1980s, Americans worried that imported cars would displace American-made models from our streets. Cars from Japan and Germany which were taking over America's highways. But increasingly, most of the cars sold in the United States, even those made by foreign automakers like Toyota and Volvo, are making these cars within the three nations with parts sourced across them. And while Mexico and Canada are deeply embedded in these production processes, most assembly still takes place in the United States. In the face of competition from Japan and Germany, the major American automakers thrived, and foreign auto companies also decided to build plants within the NAFTA region rather than export to the United States. Exports of cars from the NAFTA region to the rest of the world almost tripled. Auto production increased from 9.7 million cars a year in 1990 to 12.1 million in 2015 by embracing a shared production chain that includes both Mexico and Canada, and 2 million of these cars are sold abroad. This NAFTA synergy, this NAFTA manufacturing teamwork, has been keeping U.S. industries competitive in the global economy at a time when most people predicted a long American decline. The disappearance of American jobs in manufacturing is not primarily caused by plants moving to Mexico. U.S. manufacturers have shed as much as a quarter of their jobs since 1980, at the same time that actual manufacturing output in the U.S. has more than doubled. Meanwhile, Mexican companies have invested in the United States, and they have created jobs here. Together, Mexican firms employ at least 123,000 Americans. In fact, from 1990 to 2009, whenever a U.S. company increased its investment in Mexico by generating 10 new jobs, this led on average to an increase of 1.3% in the size of its U.S. workforce, a 1.7% increase in its exports from the United States, and a 4.1% increase in its research and design spending in the United States. Donald Trump calls NAFTA one of the worst deals ever made, but apparently he is wrong. Since the North American Free Trade Agreement went into effect in 1994, trade among the three signatories, the United States, Mexico, and Canada, has quadrupled. And together, they constitute the largest trading bloc in the world, outpacing even the European Union. Now, that was Andrew Seeley's Vanishing Frontier, with tiny edits from me. But the bottom line is this. In the name of security, Donald Trump is making us more insecure. Most of the terrorists who enter the United States come in through our airports, not through the Mexican border. Most of the drugs come in through legal points of entry, not through the Mexican border. And Trump's shutdown requires TSA security employees at airports to work without pay. That lets terrorists go through. It penalizes border agents. It penalizes border protection officers. And they are suing the administration for the pay that they are missing during the shutdown. And Donald Trump's shutdown steals from the customs agents who check for drugs at ports of entry. What's more, Trump's shutdown is threatening the security of us all. What's more, Vanishing Frontiers points out, as outlined in my appearances on Coast to Coast AM, that immigrants generally have an unusually high rate of entrepreneurship in the United States. They start businesses at twice the rate that native-born Americans do. Finally, there's the issue of whether immigrants crossing the Mexican border are rapists and murderers and are responsible for a slaughter in the USA, as Donald Trump claims. The murder rate in America today is almost half of what it was in 1995. Yes, almost half. What's more, as Vanishing Frontiers points out, crime usually drops in communities when immigrants move in. And national statistics suggest that immigrants, and Mexican immigrants in particular, commit far fewer crimes than native-born Americans. In fact, they have incarceration rates only a fifth to a tenth that of native-born Americans. So if you seriously want to lower the crime rate, there's a better solution than building a wall. Simply export all of us born in the USA and bring more Hispanic immigrants from across the border with Mexico. This is Howard the Humongous fuming at an idiotic, bloated, orange president who is destroying the values that I stand for. Or, to put it differently, this is Howard the Humongous speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to make. Or, want to know why? Ask how. And now for that sleazy, slimy, made in Japan little off button.